Greetings, YouTube. I don't think it's going to come as any surprise when I say that a lot of Americans view themselves as the hero, as the center of the action film, particularly a lot of men and those on the right far more than probably those on the left. So a lot of men, thanks to the patriarchy and toxic masculinity, still view themselves as this heroic character. They want to take on that challenge. They want to be the action star. Um, I've fallen into that categories myself, but thankfully I have not acted it out, nor have I decided to become a bootlicking Nazi. Um, and one of the things, if you ask these folks, these men, if your child was threatened, what would you do? And they'll describe all kinds of heroic actions. They'll say they'll go after the person. They go into massive amounts of graphic detail. You get the distinct impression they've been planning this kind of thing out. Okay, I can guarantee you, if it ever actually came to Ford, I hope it doesn't ever. How it actually plays out is going to be different than the way they think it is. I'm reminded of an actual real world case where a girl went missing in an apartment complex. You know, one of those big complexes where there's just like each building's like got 4 floors and all the apartments are identical to each other. Um, and the outside is just a bunch of, evenly spaced windows, that kind of thing. I always refer to those as beehives. Um, and a girl went missing. Well, while frantically looking, her father hears his daughter's voice, turns and sees she's sticking her head and waving out a window, crying for help. Now, because the way the buildings are laid out, he knows exactly where she is. He knows that she is X number of windows in on the like whatever floor she is. So he runs up there. And when he runs up there, he doesn't hesitate. He just kicks the door in and he sees his daughter. So what does he do? Now she's been kidnapped by a guy who is in the room with his daughter. What does this man do? He rushes in, he grabs his daughter and he runs, which is exactly what he should do. This is an action film. Your goal is to get your kid to safety. Thankfully, she was okay. She hadn't been missing for very long. But that's what a real parent does. They save their kid. They don't pretend they're going to be some kind of action star. But one of the things that a lot of these folks don't ever take into account is that doing anything to save your kid may be moving. If your house is flooded on a regular basis because of where you live, it's only makes sense to keep your family and your kids safe. You're going to have to move to a higher ground. That's just the way it is. And in some places in America, that's going to become absolutely vital. Those folks would be smart to start doing that now before prices get even worse than they are at the moment. Because when people start fleeing the coasts, which are going to be underwater, the inland territories are going to be expensive. Um, but what if you had to flee even further? What if you couldn't just flee to the next state? Because in America, you have a lot of space to go. I live in the East Coast. I have 3,000 miles to flee into. Okay? But a lot of people in the world don't. A lot of people in the world can go 300 miles and they're in a different country. Or they can decide that the best place for their kid is going to be across an ocean. Okay? But if an American had to move from the East Coast to West Coast because it was the best thing for their daughter or their or son, they're not going to bat an eye. They're just going to do it. But if an immigrant does that same thing, goes 3,000 miles to find a best place for their kid to live and thrive, which just happens to be America, suddenly there's a lot of people that are like, "Well, they shouldn't come here." They're coming here for the same reason you would flee. They're trying to keep their family together. They're trying to keep their family safe. They're trying to do the best thing for their children. They're not doing anything that you claim you do because you've said many times you would do anything for your kid. And that's what those immigrants are doing. They're going through living hells to get here, throwing themselves in boats into the ocean to escape oppression, to escape famine, to escape economic conditions that means they're going to be stuck in poverty forever, to escape oppression by authoritarian governments or outright genocide in some cases. They're coming here because it's safer than where they are. And the twisted thing is that sometimes the places that they're fleeing from are not safe thanks to the machinations of our government or our private businesses. So we create the problem. They flee the problem. And then the people in the country that caused the problem bitch at them about being here. That's goddamn twisted. If an immigrant is willing to risk everything they have, their life and limb, to get their kid to safety, maybe there's a really good reason they're doing that. And maybe we should look at the background of that. Dig a little deeper. Do a little research. Find out why they're trying to escape. Try to find out why the conditions that they are currently experiencing in their home country are like the way they are. Maybe the United States government did it. We've been screwing with other countries for a very long time in the U.S. We're really good at it. Go look up the term banana republic and see what it means. So when American men, and again it's almost always men, would say they'd do anything for their kid, why do they think that immigrants from other places that want to come here aren't saying the exact same thing?